The woman known as the Writer on the Water is making waves again through her newly released memoir. Finding herself unemployed and homeless and volunteering in exchange for food and lodging, Niamh McAnally went on a global journey of self-discovery. Following Sunshine chronicles her voyage around the mind, around the world, around the heart. And Niamh joins us now to share more. Florida resident now. Welcome.
Yes, thank you so much. Lovely to be with you.
So after traveling the world, you wind up here. I'd say that's pretty good. That's a pretty good end to the story.
It's yeah, exactly. I mean, where else is better than Florida to live? We're delighted.
And I think that your message of overcoming is really going to resonate with people here in Florida, especially at this difficult time that we're going through. So if you wouldn't mind, share the story of when you found yourself at that lowest point in your life and what you were thinking.
I was living on this tiny island of Sark in the Channel Islands and between UK and France, and I was managing a hotel at the time, and it closed for the year. And as a result of living in staff accommodation, it suddenly meant I was homeless and jobless, and I had no transport. So what I decided to do was take out a year and travel around the world as a volunteer in exchange for the food and lodging, like you said. And at the end of that year, I had so much amazing experiences in different cultures where you realize that just because we do something this way in one country doesn't mean if it's done differently in another country it's wrong. You know, so we had a lot of different experiences like that. And then at the end of that year, I took on one final project, which was to crew for a solo sailor from Florida to the Bahamas. It was only supposed to take 1 month.
And that proved especially life-changing. Tell us whom you met.
So I met Captain Gary, and I was supposed to stay on the boat for a month, and here we are 8.5 years later, and who knows, when you live 24/7...
Mates for life now.
Mates for life, 100%. Well, when you live 24/7 in a 40-foot space, and you've got no internet or cell service, what do? Only you talk. Right? And you get to know each other from the inside out. And that's what happened. And we realized we had this profound bond between us. And 4.5 years later, we got married with toes in the sand in Antigua, and the rest is history. Yeah.
So there you were, unemployed, homeless, divorced, probably wondering, is my life ever going to change? Is there anything left to look forward to? And then you have this incredible transformative journey and happy ending. What message is in there for all of us?
I think absolutely. I was probably at my lowest ebb, and everybody goes through different phases in their lives, right? But for me, it was, I had to start thinking outside of myself. I had to think, well, that my life is more than about just me. And that was when I came up with this idea that I'll volunteer travel, so that everywhere I went, I was living in the community with other people. They were learning from my experience, and I was learning from theirs.
So your thought was, I need to connect. I need to go beyond me, not be selfish right now.
Right.
Even though you had really every right to be, because you were worried about your own future and well-being, you decided, I need to connect with people?
Yes, that was exactly it. And it has made such a difference. And there's a picture of me there actually walking on the shores, and I'm so connected with water, and that's when I became the writer on the water. I showed Gary one of my first short stories, and he said, you got to do this full time. And so I started writing on the boat. So I've been like full-time writer for the last 8.5 years now.
Wow. And
just loving it.
She becomes a best-selling author.
There we go.
We have Flares Up, which is the first book that you published,
Correct.
bestseller, and then following Sunshine is your memoir, which is out now. And I want to read a quote on the cover: a truly brave, enriching memoir that will take you on a global adventure. None other than Liam Neeson said that. Could you ever imagine that life would turn out like this? Celebrities, because he's not the only one raving about your writing.
Right, and I had met Liam Neeson when I was on, I used to be a stunt assistant on the movie called The Mission. My dad was an actor, and I was in South America at that time. So I met and worked a little bit with Liam, and also Jeremy Irons, who did the cover quote for Flares Up. So I'm very blessed. And what my dad taught me years and years ago is, the bigger the star, the more gracious they are. And that, I cannot tell you, is more true. You know, they're looking back, going to help the next person along, which I think is fantastic.
Well, that's the theme of...
That's my goal here. That's what I'm trying to do, is to share my story. It's not a book about me per se, even though it's my journey, but my idea is that people can take parts of it, and if it inspires them to push themselves just that tiny little bit further, even if it's just picking up the phone to somebody you haven't spoken to in years, you know, it doesn't have to be like my travels all around the world. But if you can embrace curiosity and open-mindedness and give of yourself, I think that comes back to you tenfold.
As we saw in your story. Thank you, Niamh.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you being here. And Following Sunshine is out now, so be sure to pick up a copy.